All right, happy Sunday. Usually I do these Twitter spaces closer to the evening, but because today is Mother's Day, and I know most are spending time with their family or spending time with themselves, you know, self care is self love, love all around. Happy Mother's Day, happy Sunday. We'll get started with a spotlight matches for night 3 of Best of the Super Juniors 30. I have 3 matches picked out. We're going to start with those 3 matches and we're going to work our way around the show and the match card for the other ones. What up, Reezy?
Hey, what's up,
How's
man? I'm chilling, watching the Super Juniors, man. I'm good.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. I guess you get to hear my commentary on top of watching the Super Juniors.
Awesome.
First of all, happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you and your family.
Thank you, thank you. All right, you get a front row seat. I was explaining a little bit earlier that I'm gonna do spotlight matches because there are 3 matches that stood out to me, and then we'll go around the other matches.
All right.
Yeah. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows. This is a Twitter exclusive. It is being recorded, and this is me challenging myself to do a Twitter space for every single day that, Best of Super Juniors is on. Today is night 3 or day 3. So it is May 14th, 2023. They were in Nagoya. And of course, it's Best of Super Juniors. Like I was explaining in the other 2 Twitter spaces, depending on where they go, their fans are going to be different. Nagoya fans are a little bit different as well. You do get that nice shouting effect in the background, but you do mostly get claps. And I was really surprised that the fans were chanting for certain wrestlers, and it was just really nice to hear it. Going towards the first spotlight match for this show, we're definitely going to start with Block B, which had Akira Francesco versus Robbie Eagles. This match is definitely a must-see match from New Japan World. As always, guys, if you want to get a New Japan subscription, it is only $7 United States side with like a little bit of an exchange, a couple of cents, but it's not too much. It's not going to break, it's not going to break your bank or anything like that. However, if you do end up getting the New Japan World subscription, please make sure to listen to the following ways and how to actually get it so you don't get charged twice. New Japan will take the first of every month. It does not matter what day you sign up. It kind of does matter, but let me get there. As I say this. If you sign up within the first 2 weeks of the first 2 weeks of the month for the New Japan World subscription, you will be fine heading into next month. Now, let's say that at the end of the month, depending on the month, if it ends on a 30 or a 31st, you will get charged twice because, like I said, they take it out every first of the month when it comes to the subscription. So please make sure if you want to get a New Japan World subscription, which is only $7 US side, please get it within the first 2 weeks so that way you can avoid all of that confusion. Because once it turns the first at like 12 in the afternoon over in Japan, you're getting charged. And again, I say that out of love for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't say it because they give me a commission or I'm affiliated with them. I just really enjoy their product and the service. And I really want fans to understand how that process goes when you want to get a subscription. Now, with that being said, we're talking about Block B, Akira versus Robbie Eagles. I want to talk about the fans before I get into the match, because this is where I was talking about a little bit earlier that like each fan I should say each crowd that they go to for the different cities is different. In the back, you can still hear the shouts for Robbie and Akira, and you can hear the female fans like loud and clear, and you could also hear the male fans as well. There was like this like battle between one male fan going, cheering for like Robbie, And then the female fan was cheering for Akira, and I was like, that's so adorable. And it's only them going back and forth, like really, really adorable. So this match was very like evenly matched. Like this is the first time that they're facing. This isn't they haven't faced before, and because it's the first time that they're facing, they have that natural chemistry, that natural competitiveness that some matches miss, some wrestlers miss, and vice versa. That some matches have and some wrestlers have. In the beginning, Robbie ends up getting the advantage, and that takes Akira to the outside and a little bit off his game because Robbie has some time to taunt. And what does Robbie do best? Start his rally cry with the Robbie, 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 oi, oi, oi thing. And Akira being hot-headed and an angry Italian, which I totally understand that whole entire characteristic. Goes in and thinks that he can get some offense in, which he eventually does. Akira sends Robbie out to the outside and then does a plancha, and then decides to send Robbie gut first into the ring apron, which it's a little bit aggressive, but as we've been talking about and praising Akira, like he has definitely grown a lot, and he understands that if there is a opportunity, a small window, you got to take it, you got to use it. You can't just let time pass because then you might end up missing that shot, that opportunity, and that could have been an easy win for the wrestler and stuff. Then after that, he does a beautiful leg lariat, which I enjoy. Attempted pins, Robbie kicks out. There is a very deep chin lock stretch that Akira does and traps the arm of Robbie. Short drop kicks. But Robbie comes back and decides to cut Akira's speed by chopping him down to size, as they say. If you can eliminate Akira's speed, then Robbie will have the advantage, and like vice versa, because these guys are like super fast. It should be like renamed to like Best of the Super Fast Juniors, but I'll stop now because I don't think that joke is. Yeah, that was stupid. But it's just me talking off the top of my head. Robbie Eagles does go for the Ron Miller special. But there's a rope break. We get this awesome counter to the Poison Rana that Akira is going to do on Robbie, and Robbie does a turbo backpack. Which, if you ever seen Robbie Eagle do a turbo backpack or any of his moves, like they are very beautiful to look at. But oh wait. I messed that up. But either way, his turbo backpacks are amazing. I meant that what do I have in my notes here? By the way, this is all live and coming off the top of my head. If I was doing this on my laptop with Audacity, I would be able to go back and like really like cut and chop it up and like edit as I go. But we're gonna keep it rolling because there's no way I can edit this shit until like afterwards. Let's see. Robbie does this cool little like sweep of the legs to get someone to like sit in the corner, which no one else really does. Robbie ends up dodging the fireball and again going for that Ron Miller special, but Akira is like, no, not this time, and uses Robbie's weight against him to try to sneak in a pin victory, but Robbie's like, oh, you're not gonna get one up on me. And then until later on, Robbie goes for a 450, misses it. And then Akira does fireball, and Akira manages to get the victory over Robbie Eagles. Man, honestly, I would have never known like who I was gonna pick. But it was a beautiful, fast-paced match between these two guys that represents the Super Juniors. And yeah, Akira has definitely grown a lot in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I am really glad to see that growth from when he first came in to like all the way to now. And, Robbie has also been an excellent wrestler in New Japan. He was also just trying to find his way from going from group to group to group and then landing on TMDK. And now there's that aggressiveness to him, that like sureness. So it's only, time will tell about, how far and what they're going to do with Robbie in New Japan. We could always speculate, the young career of Akira, but Robbie's the veteran. So um if you guys have New Japan World, make sure to go watch Akira versus Robbie. That was a very, very, very good match. um our second spotlight for this whole entire show will be Block A, TJP versus Mike Bailey. Man, in my notes, I really did put that we have like smart wrestlers, because both of them were playing the smart. And they, like, I couldn't decide if this is gonna be like a match or a game, so to speak, of chess or checkers. It felt more like chess, where TJP would have the upper hand, maybe have like what do we say in chess? That, like, two steps forward, and then like Mike Bailey would come out and like, take one of those steps away, and like it'll be Mike Bailey having the advantage. These guys are very technically sound. They're freaking awesome to watch. So I really think it was a matter of them playing chess and who could get checkmate rather than checkers. I know more about chess than I do about checkers. But I do see people and hear people use the phrase of, oh, while this group over here is playing chess, the other group is playing checkers. So, they're not the same. Um, if anybody can like explain to me that weird phrase that people use of like, oh, they're playing checkers, not chess, when it comes to like, I guess, business moves, so I can understand it a little bit, that'll be great. Because, you know. But yeah, this match, TJP versus Mike Bailey, was definitely them playing chess. TJP, does all of his stuff. That's very vague. I'm just looking at my at my notes, and I'm just like, yeah, he does all this stuff. Um, TJP manages to get Mike Bailey onto the outside, and also drives Mike Bailey's midsection into the apron, of like what we saw with Akira doing to Robbie Eagles in the last match. There's many times that Mike Bailey dodges TJP's movesets, and Mike brings out that rapid fire kicking that he does. Then there was this really interesting segment. Segment might be the wrong word. Thing that happened during, like, in the ropes, where TJP would usually do like some type of move coming in from the ropes, like sliding in, but Bailey caught him and was about to like monkey flip him into the rope. I forget the actual term of like when slingshot. Oh my god. Why could I not have remembered that when I was writing these notes? Slingshot him into the ropes. I can't believe I have to like speak out loud to like try to remember it. There we go. I gotta add that in my notes now. Where Bailey was trying to slingshot TJP into the ropes, but TJP used his like upper body weight to like really grab the ropes and hug onto it and tell the referee like, yo, it's a rope break. And then TJP just manipulates the rules and decides to do like a guillotine choke on Bailey on the ropes. And then the ref was like, nah, we're not having that. Like, you gotta break that. TJP did say yesterday on commentary that, he knows the rules. He just bends the rules. It's not like he's breaking the rules. Okay. Bailey does that like amazing shooting star press. Sometime in the middle of the match, TJP actually stomps the foot of Bailey. Bailey was not limping at all. He didn't really make his foot a target, because yesterday's match with Show definitely went after his foot. So, in this match today, Bailey wasn't really showing signs until TJP decides to stomp the foot. Then again, this is why I say that wrestlers wear shoes, so that way your feet could be, nice and good. Uh, there's that beautiful moonsault by Bailey to TJP. Uh, Bailey misses the ultimate weapon, which has gotten him the victory. From night one and night two. TJP does his stretch to Bailey. It was really like deeply put in. We get combo attacks. We get a swing DDT. Um, there's a lot of attempted pins in this match, but the really the the attention to detail. There's like something I really want to point out here, which I'm gonna read it from my notes, but this is something to watch if you're studying wrestling, because you always want to have like a good chemistry in your matches. You don't necessarily want to make it look like it's 100% choreographed. Like, yes, we do know that, the matches are choreographed. There are things that you guys talk about to have like spots and stuff, but like to not make anything like super obvious, I would definitely say like watch TJP versus Mike Bailey for Best of the Super Juniors Night 3. And I say that because there's this sequence that went on, and I was like, that is so beautiful, and it makes sense, and the timing was just perfect. So this is how it went. TJP was on the top rope. Mike Bailey went up to follow him, but TJP manages to push him off to where Bailey hits like front his whole body first. And then that's when Bailey, turns over on his back for TJP to do his Mamba Splash, but TJP does not connect with that Mamba Splash. So as TJP is recovering on the miss, that momentum is sending him into the corner where the turnbuckle is. And then Bailey gets up like the second after TJP misses and does that rotation spinning kick that you guys all see him do, and it connects with TJP. And the beauty of it is that, just as TJP is turning into the turnbuckle, sorry for, I guess, revealing a little bit more in wrestling, as he's just turning into the turnbuckle, not too long afterwards, maybe like 4 seconds, 5 seconds tops, here comes Bailey with his foot to connect to TJP. So it all looked very seamless, very smooth. And then right from there, that is when Mike Bailey decides to follow up very quickly, do the flamingo driver, and then get the cover and gets the 1, 2, 3. And Mike Bailey ends up getting 2 points for Best of the Super Juniors. So I basically broke that whole sequence down for you guys to sort of hear it. But if you see it, it's a lot more like impactful than probably me just talking about it. But just the way that it went, it was like, that looks like the most perfect chemistry there is. Now, then again, like both of these guys like are like veterans and they know what they're doing, and they had many matches and all of that. So the whole match looked, great as always. But that in particular, I was like, that should be highlighted, because wrestlers should, always try to make their matches look as realistic, as, non-spotty, choreographed, as like, going a full 100% to reveal everything. Matches are supposed to still have that magic within them, so that way you could get lost in the storytelling, get lost in the acrobatics, get lost in, the amazing thing that all these guys do, all these women do. So I think that's a very good match for people to study. Now, I totally forgot to tell you in the last match that because Akira won, that gives him 2 points for Best of the Super Juniors. And then the last spotlight match before we get into like the other matches that I didn't talk about yet. Block A, Leo Rush versus Hiromu. This is the main event to night 3 of Best of the Super Juniors. This was really good. Hiromu is the master of self endurance when it comes to professional wrestling. He is the master of that. Like if you ever get into a match with Hiromu, just know you have to go the distance. It's not about like getting the quick pins or anything like that. Like Hiromu has endurance and persevere. Why don't I want to be like perseverance? He does. But most importantly, he has a lot of endurance and he plays the long game. So like you may not work on your endurance a lot, and that might end up costing you the match. So I would suggest to, if you're ever gonna face Hiromu, like work on your endurance. I would like to know what Hiromu does outside of wrestling to work on his endurance. Like I would want to know, man, because Hiromu versus Leo was like, going the distance and like really trying to survive. They're both evenly matched. We both seen Hiromu versus Leo Rush in the past. I just can't think of a match at the moment. But that's what happens. Uh, we get this really cool thing that Leo Rush wanted to do with Hiromu is that both of them are on the outside. Leo Rush, asks politely to get a chair from the fans, sets the chair up, put Hiromu in there, and Leo Rush decides to run around the whole ring and decide to do some type of an attack. However, Hiromu was waiting, and Hiromu decided to, stop him and do a back body drop on Leo Rush onto the chair. The chair breaks in two, which is kind of interesting. I didn't think that it would be, that weak when we know New Japan does not invest in prop tables. So, you can't break a table, but you could certainly break a chair. Unless like those weren't the chairs that New Japan uses and it was the chairs of, the place that they were in. But either way, man, like, chairs break more than tables in New Japan. So because of that, Leo's back is already fucked. So this match didn't really go that super high fast pace that you guys know Leo Rush for. However, it was still a good match. It wasn't like, everything went to shit. So after that, we get some chops to Leo. Hiromu does a head scissors to Leo. Like, Hiromu was slowing everything down. And you guys know that Hiromu can go fast as well, too. That's why Hiromu's like a chameleon. He's like a chameleon, man. Leo Rush manages to roll over to the ropes to get that rope break and decides to do like 3 dives to Hiromu, trying to pick up that speed and put the fact that his lower back was in pain in the back of his head. Leo Rush manages to do a very high knee to Hiromu and this airplane body slam to him as well. However, Hiromu is like, oh, that's all good, and does his famous Death Valley driver into the corner turnbuckle. This usually helps to set up for moves like dynamite plunge and time bomb. If Hiromu can definitely work on your back, there's an easier chance for him to win by hitting those moves. Hiromu does a fireman's carry and drop to Leo Rush on the apron. Think of it like an attitude adjustment in AA. That's exactly what he did. He basically did the John Cena move to Leo on the apron. And talking about the dynamite plunger, that is when Hiromu does that to Leo. Leo kicks out. Leo does an inverted final hour. So if you guys don't know what the final hour is basically his splash that he does off of the top rope. It looks similar to a frog splash. It probably is a frog splash, but to me it's similar, not similar. It's a cross between a frog splash and like a regular body crossbody. That might be so weird, but there's probably some like slight differences between the two. Um, but yeah, so he does an inverted one and then decides to do a regular one, but Hiromu gets the knees up. Like Hiromu could see that thing coming from a mile away. Uh, Leo Rush manages to escape Time Bomb the first time around, and then we get this Spanish Fly and like Cutter combination. So the Spanish Fly is first, and then a Cutter. Now, the most surprising thing in this match, which I really do think that when I saw it, I was like, Leo had to give him some props, or not props, but like had to tell Hiromu, yo, let's do this one spot because no one is going to know that you did this. That's probably the wrong way of putting it, but like he taught Hiromu something that Hiromu never really does at all in any of his matches. So Leo ends up going to the top rope to do final hour. As he leaps off the top rope and comes down, Hiromu hits him with a cutter in midair. Now, we see this almost all the time on the indies, and we see this, with Randy Orton doing this out of like anywhere and everywhere. Whenever he plucks somebody out of midair and does, the RKO, and that's exactly what Hiromu did with Leo Rush. We just call it a cutter right now because I don't know if Hiromu is gonna keep that. And I thought that was a very interesting thing to try in this match. But like I've been saying for the past two Twitter Spaces that this is where these guys pull out like all their stops. If they're on the road to to that pay-per-view, they're not really gonna pull out like major moves like this, brand new moves like this, or anything of that. They wait until like the pay-per-view or the tournament to really give like really good matches, really good shows. And this is one of them. And this is, Leo Rush helping his colleagues a little bit better, to do different things that they might have thought like, oh, why would they do that? So I really did like this spot of Hiromu doing the cutter on Leo, because it was just something different. So now, after all of that, Hiromu tries to go for the pin. Leo kicks out. We get this Poison Rana plus his stunner that he does from the bottom rope, which I believe it's called Rush Hour. I think I've heard that before. So we get that combination. And Hiromu, man, when Hiromu gets hit with that stunner, he sells it like The Rock. He really does. He sells it like The Rock, and I'm like, Hiromu. But it's Hiromu. Hiromu is a very lovable wrestler. We do get another final hour from Leo Rush, but this time it's to the back of Hiromu because as Hiromu is trying to roll away, he didn't roll away fast enough. But Hiromu kicks out of that because Hiromu was like, no, I still got some energy. However, they try one more time for this final setup where Leo does a bunch of flurry headbutts and then does a final hour, and that basically gives him the 1, 2, 3 and wins against Hiromu, which that gives Leo Rush 2 points in Best of the Super Juniors. Now, because Hiromu has been beaten by Leo Rush and Mike Bailey in Best of the Super Juniors, Hiromu is our IWGP Super Junior Heavyweight Champion. In the event that Leo Leo or Mike Bailey do not win Best of the Super Juniors, right? They do have future title shots lined up. Now, it's not confirmed as I say that. However, given New Japan's track record, if you do beat the champion, New Japan likes to honor the fact that you defeated one of their champions. It's not like here in America where like if you beat a champion, you never hear back from like, hey, do I get that title shot? And they're like, yeah, we could talk about it, but like it never fucking happens. Over in Japan, if you beat a champion, you will probably end up getting that title shot to prove if you can take the belt off of them. So I just think that with the recent stuff that's been happening in New Japan with, Hiromu challenging Sonata for that IWGP World Heavyweight Championship title, and Hiromu, really wanting to go into the heavyweight division because he's done everything in the juniors division and he's been wonderful at it. As the face of the Super Juniors, he's wonderful. However, the Super Juniors are now getting an influx of wonderful wrestlers. So even if Hiromu, got his wish to go into the heavyweight division, the Super Junior division will be fine. A couple years ago, it wouldn't be like that. A couple years ago, there was a reason why Hiromu, stood around. But I personally would love to see Hiromu go into the heavyweight division and see what he can do with the heavyweights. But Hiromu has like that heart of gold that it doesn't matter what weight class he goes into. He's going to go into any of his matches with all that fire, with all that heart, and survive because he has that endurance. Like he survived against Murder Grandpa Suzuki by enduring, I think it was like 200 and like 30 something chops that like both of them together like exchanged in that G1 Classic match where it was just a chopping fest, but it was really good because of like who was in it and what they were doing and how they set everything up, so I would really love to see Hiromu in the heavyweight division, trying to do something. I want to see Hiromu grab, the never open weight championship title. Maybe they could set up, in the future for him to go against David Finlay. Maybe he could go for the King of Pro Wrestling championship title, which I still don't consider it a championship title, but that's just me. It has to grow on me like some more. But he could probably go for that. He could go for the 6-man tag team titles, which wouldn't be a very bad thing. Imagine if he goes for the heavyweight tag team titles, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Or even go after Zack Sabre Jr. for that New Japan Pro Wrestling the NJPW World Championship title. There's so much stuff that he can do, and I don't want him to just stay in the division. So in the event that Leo Rush I gotta stop saying in the event that Leo Rush, Mike Bailey, or whoever wins Best of the Super Juniors dethrones Hiromu, I think I would be okay with Hiromu exiting the junior division to go and become the greatest wrestler to watch in New Japan Pro Wrestling just because of everything that he has given us and us being appreciative of it. But yeah, those are the 3 matches to check out. Block A, Leo Rush versus Hiromu. Block A, TJP versus Mike Bailey. And Block B, Akira versus Robbie Eagles. So now let's get into the other matches I didn't talk about. It's probably not going to be that much. I'll give you guys like the story behind it. Yeah, because not every night is going to be like a big hit of a night, because they are doing this back to back to back. I am surprised that tomorrow, Monday, May 15th, that they're not having a Best of the Super Juniors. That is their day off, most likely to get to the next city because they travel like really long on those New Japan buses. So tomorrow there will be no Best of the Super Juniors. So what I'm planning tomorrow, after I run some errands in the morning and I come back home, I will be jumping on kick.com/Marie Shadows to do a very quick review of night 1, 2, and 3. So if you guys love to support people who live stream, especially on different platforms, make sure you are following and head over to kick.com/Marie Shadows so that way we could talk about it. And more stuff for that. But that's what I'm gonna do on Monday is a quick um, you know, recap for everyone that wants to watch online on the interwebs rather than, listening to me chat about it. So back to this. We're going to start from the beginning. Block B had Yoshinobu versus Kevin Knight. Um, this was a weird one. So Kevin Knight has a lot of speed. Yoshinobu definitely feels like that uncle that's just like, slow it down, kid. So that's exactly what he did in this match. And he was definitely working on Kevin's knee because, Yoshinobu's thing is to work a hold and to make sure that, he bangs you up as much as he can. And, you basically tap out to that figure four. So he was controlling Kevin's knee throughout this whole entire match, and Kevin knows this, so he had to make sure that he tries to get a rope break whenever he can, and tries to offer some offense with like some elbows. But Yoshinobu is like, nah, we're not gonna have that until Kevin pulls out that wonderful drop kick that he does. And a big cross body splash, that's what I said. Kevin follows it up with a big cross body splash with that sky high sit out power bomb. But then even after those attempted pins, Yoshinobu is like, I'm still going to cut your speed down with a drop kick to his knee. And even with all of that, Kevin still manages to pull out a leaping hurricanrana off the ropes. Ends up doing a super kick and a DDT, and ends up pinning Yoshinobu. So Kevin gets 2 points against Yoshinobu. Block A is a very interesting matchup. It's Sho versus Taguchi. Now, if you guys have been listening to me for the past couple of episodes, I have been giving praise to House of Torture. House of Torture is a household name, whether or not you want to agree with me. But I did notice something that on Sho's t-shirt, there is no sign of Bullet Club. The logo of Bullet Club is not on Sho's t-shirt. Now, I'm not sure if Sho is wearing like an old t-shirt, even though it says House of Torture, but like there's no Bullet Club sign. So maybe quietly House of Torture moved away from Bullet Club. But then again, I don't know. If somebody can like reach out to David so that way I can get like an interview with him and set something up and like ask questions, because I have a lot more questions than answers. And sometimes, you need like 50-50, not like so much questions, little answers, because, story matters, details matter, Bullet Club is becoming its own thing. It's starting over. It's, resetting. So I just want to know if House of Torture is still in there or not. But like I said, that House of Torture does not need Bullet Club. They could go on their own because it's House of Torture. So this match was very interesting because, Sho basically grabbed the mic and was like, hey, Taguchi, you better bring your A game. You better, fight serious because I'm going to fight you serious. So when Sho takes off his, ring attire, he's wearing a Hantai shirt, right? And everybody in the crowd was like, they had this like ooh ah type of thing, like that they just sound off, and I was just like, what is going on? So we actually get like a wrestling match. This whole entire match had Taguchi pulling out the ankle lock any way and anywhere he sees fit against Sho. Sho was trying his best. He really was. But, Taguchi is, now the master of the ankle lock, because it doesn't matter what Sho did, Taguchi went back to that. We get Taguchi with his Blue Thunder Bomb, which, by the way, I really do enjoy when wrestlers do the Blue Thunder Bomb. Show kicks out, and then of course, we have to have a ref bump. Like, can we have like a whole entire show, New Japan, without having a ref bump? Like, I think House of Torture abuses the shit out of ref bumps. Do referees get bonuses for taking bumps? I know the answer is probably going to be no, because I know a few refs that are very good, and I don't think they get extra pay. But like, referees should get extra pay. They gotta take a ref bump. Like, I really do think that that should be a thing. Like, don't abuse that idea. Just, it should be fair. Um, so because um Show decided to like throw Taguchi into the ref because Taguchi still had the ankle lock on, and as Show decided to go forward more, Taguchi hit the referee. The referee goes out the ring, and then the lights cut out. This time in the span of like maybe like 3 seconds, it was out, so I couldn't do the did New Japan pay for the light bill? I couldn't do that joke, but um, as the lights come on, it's Evil in the ring, and then you can hear the crowd being like, "Oh, what the fuck is this guy doing here?" Right? But it looked like Evil was going to be the referee, and I bought it. Everyone else bought it. The whole crowd bought it, and because Evil was just like, "You ready, Show?" And then, "You ready, Taguchi?" And he was like, "All right, fight." And then he's like, "Nah, Taguchi, wait a minute. I have to you know, uh, pat you down because standard in wrestling, you gotta make sure they don't have a weapon or whatever." But then Show comes in with a fucking low blow, and then taking the wrench and hitting Taguchi, and then does the shock arrow, which is his finisher, and pins Taguchi. Man, I know that like people might end up getting on me to be like, "Oh, how can you like House of Torture?" Or, "You should know, you should see this coming from a mile away." Sometimes I wanna, be surprised and be happy about a weird ass turn of like silliness from House of Torture, because I don't take it as seriously as others when they'll be like, "Oh, it's House of Torture, like get them off my screen," or whatever the case may be. Like, yeah, they are freaking annoying. I totally understand that, but at the same time, you want to see what happens. You want to still support them because you're watching to see how it unfolds. um but yeah, I would say that I got, way too into it. Like, even in my notes, I have Evil as ref with a question mark and an exclamation point. Like, I was even like, what is going on here? I don't mind a little silliness from like time to time. Um, so after Show pins Taguchi, we get that post-match beatdown on Taguchi, which is just tiny, and then Evil and Show cut the Hantai t-shirt, and then also the Taguchi t-shirt that Taguchi wears. They both cut those shirts. So because Show pinned Taguchi, that gives him 2 points. Um, Now we head to Block B of Clark Connors versus Bushi, and you guys know I love Clark. I say nothing but good things about Clark Connors, and I'm happy that he's in Bullet Club. There's just this very slowness, this methodicalness that he's wrestling as or with. And I just need it to be a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more sped up, but I don't mean in like speed. I mean in like, focus on what you have to do instead of like yelling at the crowd just because you're a heel. Like, I totally get it. Um Most of the time when he was doing that in Nagoya, they really weren't responding to it. They were like freaking out about it. So I'm just like, yeah, they're not doing what like Americans would do. Like, if Clark decided to yell at like an American fan, if whenever they send him out here for like Strong or whatever, we're gonna like yell back at him, and that's the kind of reaction you want. But even though I think even getting a scared reaction from Japanese fans is also a good thing, but it doesn't really look right, feel right, and it feels out of place. So I'm just like, man, there has to be a way to do this with Clark. Like, like I said, Clark is very good. He's fucking fantastic. And then to have Gato at his side is also a bonus. It's just the tiny little things that I'm watching. I'm like, that could be a little bit better. And like I said, this is all gonna go back to, depending on where they go, depends on the fan reaction. Kirk and Hall, Clark Connors is a fucking rock star. Anywhere else, if it's not like Tokyo Dome, you know, that type of crowd, like, this places where Clark would be a rock star for the antics that he does versus going to other places where he's not going to be a rock star. Um, and I don't know if I were to suggest that if he were to talk, a little bit in Japanese, he doesn't have to be like full blown, conversations and shit. But like if he were to talk a little bit in Japanese as a heel, if that will work. Because like, I get it. You as the foreigner there, the gaijin there, you're gonna play up that, you're not from there, so why should you learn Japanese? But maybe learning a little bit of Japanese that can be used to your advantage can definitely shake up some people, because I would think that most Japanese people don't think that you're going to learn their language. The same way, like, if, most Spanish people don't think you're going to like learn their language. You know, saying that you're not like hanging out with like Spanish people, because if you hang out with Spanish people, you eventually learn the language just on a conversational level. But generally speaking, if you're not like around that, you might not learn it. So most of the time, Spanish people will think that you're not gonna learn their language. If any of that makes sense. But yeah, this is me just trying to like think off the top of my head in real time based on like the notes, what I see during the matches. Cause man, like I really do sit down and watch every little thing that happens and listen to every little thing that happens. It's not just me focusing on like the matches and like the moves. It's everything that makes up professional wrestling, because it's the best fucking thing that I love. And what I love more is to try to give some type of feedback or suggestion to be like, hey, this is how you can elevate that a little bit more, so that way you could get that crowd to react to the way that you want them to react. The most important thing is you have to understand your audience, because this is why it's a good thing to venture out of the United States when you're a wrestler, if you have the means to do it. But like if you can venture outside the United States, you can understand how to work the crowds when you come back, because then you understand like different places get a different reaction. And I guess we can say that here in the States, but it's just so familiar here. I always am a firm believer that if you travel somewhere outside of familiarity, that you'll be a better person for it. You'll gain more knowledge. You'll have a better outside perspective, like your whole entire skill set. So like if anybody ever played Skyrim, you know how like your skill set is there and then like it levels up. That's exactly what happens when you leave something that is so familiar to you to go learn something else that's not well, I was gonna say that's not normal. But if you go outside your comfort zone, all your skill level will just go up. So yeah, that's just me trying to give some suggestions and feedback about Clark Connors and how maybe he can get over with some of the uh, crowd members, because you know Nagoya wasn't really like giving into what he was really doing to them, and I just felt so bad. I was just like, man, like if you're yelling at them, like they're not reacting right. So anyway, Block B had Clark Connors versus Bushi. I had mentioned before that Bushi sticks to the game plan. So Clark isn't playing around in this one, so he starts with that huge tackle, throws Bushi into the corner. uh, throw him to the outside and decides to throw him into the ring post like twice, then suplex him and does a straight jacket chin lock on Bushi. For most of the part, for most of the match, not the part, for most of the match, it's mainly Clark Connors taking advantage of Bushi. Okay. Uh Again, we're doing this live where I can't really edit and I could just, go off the top of my head. Uh Clark still has his Jeep flip that he does, which is like the pounce on Bushi. Bushi ends up getting in some offense because, Clark Connors was like really not allowing Bushi to do anything. Bushi comes in with a short drop kick and then does a dive to Clark, followed up by a DDT. And Clark does a power slam. If anybody knows me and listens to my content, I really do love when wrestlers do power slams. Like, they really look amazing. Um, so Bushi does end up getting a near fall. However, Clark turns it around by doing the spear and then his no chaser finisher. And he pins Bushi and that gives him 2 points for his match. Clark gets 2 points. If that wasn't understood. Then we move on to Block A, which is Taiji Ishimori versus Doki. This was a really good one, but it didn't really make my spotlight match like I was talking about earlier. It was good. It's just that I'm not sure when they're gonna give Doki his flowers. And thankfully, Chris Charlton was on commentary because he really summed it up best about Doki. Is that Doki's in this phase of trying to find his style, and Doki can do such amazing things. Whether that's working at a fast pace and or medium pace. I've never seen him work a slow pace, but he always pulls out these type of wrestling moves that are just wonderful to look at, and they're very, very powerful. Like, you guys can imagine that like Taiji has like this match like very slowing down and like making sure that Doki is grounded, because if he's not grounded, that speed is gonna like fuck somebody up. But I do want to mention that Doki does this swinging suplex move, and this time around he did it with a bridge, so a bridge pin combination. Like, it's the most amazing thing to look at because Doki is not that tall of a wrestler. I believe he looks around the same height as Taiji, maybe like a couple inches more. But he's not like Okada 6 feet tall type of guy, or even like a Baron Corbin type of guy, because the swinging suplex that Doki does is, you could think of it like how Baron Corbin has his finisher. It's similar to that, except in a suplex form. My throat is getting dry. So, it's very interesting and nice when he hits this, but it does take a lot of energy out of him because, he has to use no, he's not really using the other guy's weight, but just to throw that weight around, that's not his. Um Taiji ends up catching Doki's move called Daybreak. Um and then we get a front buster by, who do we get front buster by? We get it by Doki because Taiji kicks out. If anybody wants to know, I'm like looking and reading from my notes. Doki was very persistent on doing the Doki Choki, which is basically Milano's move, where he holds your two hands through his legs that are locked around the opponent's neck. And we all thought that Taiji was going to kick out. And, no, we all thought that Taiji wasn't going to kick out. He was going to tap out. But Taiji managed to survive. And then Taiji at the end of all of this ends up doing the bone lock and like really gets it in deep and has Doki tapping out, so Taiji gets 2 points. But yeah, that's the thing. Like I wish that Doki would go for championship titles, would go for like something in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's always good to watch Doki matches, but I guess once he settles on his style, then like it'll be better. Um Block A had Kushida versus Teton. This was a very interesting match, only because it's Kushida and Teton. Teton is a very fast-paced luchador, and you have Kushida using judo moves and his strength and awareness for his matches. Um, this one had a weird little thing that went on where Kushida was running through the crowd and Teton was following him. And then they finally ended up getting back into the ring for Kushida to work on Teton's left arm. And then putting him in like a cobra twist, getting a rope break, and some crossbody. And the weirdest thing is that the ending of this is we get Teton like really taking advantage and really like going full force against Kushida with a DDT off the ropes, a running cross body dive, a double stomp off the ropes, and then goes for the pin and gets the 1, 2, 3 and pins Kushida. And that gives Teton 2 points. Now, I know this is best of the Super Juniors, and it's, if the champion doesn't necessarily like win or at least get some points, it's a bad look on the champion because then, you watching this in kayfabe form, you're like, well, then why is he champion? Like, if he can't at least defend, the throne or the championship title with like that honor because he's in this tournament, then what's the whole point? And, I was thinking the same thing when it came to Kushida versus Teton and Kushida losing. I'm like, bro, you and Kevin Knight are the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions, and it's like, I know this is not for World Tag League or like Junior Tag League, but I think that the same thought process applies to it. You know, I know again, not every wrestler is gonna have like their day, and not like every favorite wrestler is going to win. But just on the fact of like you're still representing, somewhat of the junior division because they have a tag team division within the junior division, you would think that you'll be able to at least, get some good victories, put on some good matches, continue forward and prove that, it wasn't a mistake to put championship titles on people, if that makes sense. Like that's the kind of thinking that I had when I saw this like surprise victory of Teton getting that over Kushida. Now Kushida might be tired already into this tournament. There really is no rest periods as we see it in the previous tournaments, as rather than this one. But yeah, that was just like my thinking. Um, all right, there's two more matches for me to go over. So let's continue. Block B, we had Dan Maloney versus Yo. Uh, Dan really needs to find his groove if he's going to be in the junior division. I think for this match with Yo, I am probably going to be referring to him in a very loving way as Choppy Boy, because for the past 3 matches, it's been chops. And as you know, I have a show, like a mini show called Tape Study Tuesdays. This Tuesday, we're definitely going to be watching some Dan Maloney matches. If we can't do it on a Tuesday, we're going to do it on Thursday. I just added Tape Study Thursday just to extend Tape Study Tuesday, where we watch professional wrestling matches and or indie wrestlers can definitely give me their match to watch and give feedback live and in real time and work through stuff and suggest things and all that kind of stuff. But we'll watch some Dan Maloney matches. But right now, I'm probably gonna lovingly, like I said, nickname him Choppy Boy because that's what he was doing in this match as well, trying to chop Cho. Trying to chop Yo. Which Dan really did get some chops on Yo, and Yo got some chops on Dan, but Dan like freaking ate that shit for breakfast. So it's like, you gotta like chop him just a little bit harder. We got a back body slam on Yo. Again, Dan with the chops. Yo brought out the machine gun chops to Dan. I swear, man. All I have here is like chops. Again on commentary, they mentioned that Rhino's gore was passed down to Dan Maloney. So when Dan hits the spear, they really did like go gore, which I'm just like, should I put that on here? Is that like not infringing on like character or moveset? Like, I don't know. So Dan does do the gore. That sounded weird. Like it sounded okay, like in my head, but I don't know, it just sounded weird. So after Dan does the gore or the spear, he follows that up with the driller killer to Yo, which is basically him doing an inverted straight jacket power driver to his opponent. And Dan goes and pins Yo, and Dan gets 2 points. Very, very interesting. This time around for character development, because if you guys were not listening to me and King Reezy in the last one, we agreed that Yo is eventually going to become this careless heel, and I could definitely like see it. So here's a character update. In this match with Dan Maloney, it was more like a teasing type of thing, almost like he's sort of forming a chip on his shoulder. If you guys don't know, Dan Maloney is new to wrestling in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and him being in Best of the Super Juniors is his debut of like being in New Japan and in the junior division, and he is part of the United Empire. Him facing Yo, again, Yo is getting a personality, and like Yo is just being that careless, being that like, what you gonna do, chop me, like, oh, but you can't catch me type of thing. Like, there's something developing here. So I really want to see what Yo does in the next couple of months. All right, our last match to talk about. It was the semi-main event, Block B, Master Wato versus Despy. Now, this match, I'm not even going to get into most of the movesets and all of that. I'm telling you guys a story right now. So, El Desperado has a very deep, love and passion for professional wrestling. El Desperado pushes himself to like damn near to the best limits that his body can go. And also El Desperado has done like 2 death matches, one in Japan and then the other one with John Moxley. And, El Desperado is always like reinventing himself. He's always the go-to wrestler for other wrestlers to prove themselves against him and to prove to New Japan Pro Wrestling why they belong. There's also that time of, there was a triple threat match of like El Desperado and like Robbie Eagles, and I forgot the other wrestler's name, but this was during a Wrestle Kingdom, and man, it was, amazing. The time that Desperado fought Wheeler Yuta at the last Best of the Super Juniors. All of that. Like he pushes wrestlers to their limit when he knows they got potential, but he doesn't really see it. So he does things in his match that really brings out the best. Now he has a problem with Master Wado. You heard in the last Twitter Spaces that I gave Master Wado a lot of praise, and I was like, I agree with TJP that Master Wado has all this talent, but he doesn't know how to use it. So let's, bring all of that, and let's bring in the stuff that Desperado says. Desperado, like, faced Master Wado um, a while ago. But this was at the time where Master Wado was still trying to figure out what does Master Wado mean, like his moveset, like he was trying to find his place. And when I say he, I mean Master Wado. He was trying to find his place oh so long ago when he encountered Desperado, and Master Wado was put into the situation of facing Hiromu, Desperado, and Yoshinobu, like the veterans of the junior division. Obviously, New Japan Pro Wrestling has a lot of faith in Master Wado. If not, they would have never given him so much opportunity like they have. And honestly, every single opportunity they have given Master Wado, he has taken it and he has done, amazing things with it. So, El Desperado in his promos would usually say something along the lines of that, like, he hates Master Wado's hair, he hates his gear, he hates everything about him. Like he doesn't see Master Wado as someone who has like a passion and a love for wrestling. Like he hates the flippy stuff that Master Wado does. Like he's just like, why are you here, sir? Like, why are you doing all of this? So, obviously El Desperado just writes him off. So this match was more about proving to Desperado that Master Wado can hang with him. And, Master Wado is a really good wrestler. He could really come into his own. El Desperado is just on another level, to borrow that phrase from Will Ospreay. But Master Wado did, do something in this match that he doesn't really normally do. For the past two nights, the wrestlers that El Desperado has been facing has been definitely focusing on his knee. And it seems like a good chunk of the matches that I've seen Desperado fight, they always like focus on his knee. Always, always, always on his knee. So the one time where like Master Wado decides to attack Desperado's knee, I thought we were gonna get that like tiny bit more aggressiveness. Um, for that. But Master Wado doesn't really attack someone's like targeted bad knee or like a bad shoulder. Like he really wrestles like a really nice match. But in this one, because it's Desperado, he's like, nah, fuck that. Like I'm gonna go after his knee. And so he did for a little bit, and then I believe I might get like his finishers wrong, but he does I think they called it a TTD, which I don't really remember like what the acronym stands for, but this is Master Wado hoisting up the wrestler on his shoulder and bringing the wrestler down, sort of like a shoulder break ish in a way, but like all their weight just comes down as well. You would have to like watch the match to actually see it happen, but that's the best of my ability for me to explain it. So that happens, and normally you would go for a cover because that should be like a knockout. It looked like a knockout. Even Kevin Kelly was screaming from the desk like to cover him, like he should have covered him. But because of everything that El Desperado has said about Master Wado, he wants to make sure that when he hits this top rope move, that like it solidifies him to get at least a little bit like respect from El Desperado. So Master Wado goes out, goes to the top rope, and does this like corkscrew. What did I put here? Like this twisting corkscrew top rope move, and El Desperado moves out the way So Master Wato misses it. So Desperado does a spear, and then his finisher, and Masuato kicks out the first time. However, what is it? El Desperado follows it up with a right hand punch, and then Pinche Loco, and then Desperado goes for the cover, 1, 2, 3, and that gives El Desperado his 2 points for Best of the Super Juniors. And that is me talking about every single match for night 3 at Nagoya for today. Ooh. Reezy, you still with me?
I'm still with you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Oh, good. I want to make sure my mic wasn't messed up. But yeah, I'm still with you.
All right.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thanks, man.
No problem. I don't like. I like listening to you. So it's cool. I'm just chilling. I'm still here.
I appreciate that. I am done talking about all the matches. Are you done watching the show, or you're like, what are you up to?
I am at the Leo Rush match right now.
Oh my god, that match is so good.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very good right now. Right now, I don't know how much longer it is in the
yeah,
juniors, but it looks like Mike Bailey is killing it.
I believe after this night, I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to tally up the stuff. But I think he's in the lead for like 6 points.
Mm. I
So,
wonder how much. I wonder how many more people he got left.
it's all the way until I believe the week before. So maybe until like the 25th ish.
Because
Like
Leo is doing good too.
yeah. Um,
I'm sure soon we'll get Mike Bailey and Leo.
somebody I don't man. At this point, I'm like I don't know who. I'm trying to look for something. Okay, so because Mike Bailey is in Block A, I know he's currently leading um uh the block, and Leo. Oh shit, they're both in Block A. Oh wow. Okay, so I gotta I gotta look at my chart while I do this. I didn't know they're both in Block A. I thought they were at least in Block B.
That's what I thought. I thought Leo was in Black B.
Oh, so okay, so yeah, Leo and Mike Bailey are both in Block A, and after today, right? Usually I would do the updated stuff like on a Tuesday, since I would do like two, group them by two, but I'll just do it right now. I'll just say it. So currently, Leo Rush would be at 6 points, and Mike Bailey is going to be at 6 points. So both of them lead the block. Let me see. Is Taiji? Did I say Taiji won his? Yeah. So Taiji, Leo Rush, and Mike Bailey right now stands at 6 points.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for Block A.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So and then it also comes down to like I said before, that in the event that if Leo or Mike Bailey don't win this, they do have future opportunities to face Hiromu if Hiromu is still champion.
Interesting.
Yeah. They might end up making it. I don't know. Not confirmed or anything, but I wouldn't mind if it's like a triple threat between Bailey, Leo Rush, and Hiromu, and see what happens. But yeah, so that that's for that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, this
man.
has been very good, and I think after this, it's the tag team juniors cup, right?
After this feels more like the G1
Oh
because
yeah, it's the G1. Right, right,
yeah,
right, right, right.
and then heading towards winter, it should be like World Tag League, and I'm not sure where they're gonna fit in the Junior Tag League. They might
Right.
do. They might combine World Tag League and Junior Tag League like they did last time. And man, me trying to cover that shit.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. The G1 I'm really excited for.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, man, I wonder who they're gonna put in the G1.
I have no idea, dude. Like I want to see I want to see what they do. Um but yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna wrap things up, but I am really glad that you're enjoying the show. And then my
Thank
take
you.
and like my yeah, just my takes in the show. Um, yeah.
All right, you have a good one. It's always enjoyable talking with you.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, keep up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening to night 3 of me recapping Best of the Super Juniors. This was a spotlight match. I hope you guys enjoy Best of Super Juniors for the rest of the month. I will be back with another Twitter space on Tuesday, maybe, because Tuesday is Tape Study Tuesday. That's where I watch professional wrestling matches, and hopefully I can have you guys there. We could watch some Dan Maloney matches. We could talk about Best of Super Juniors there as well. But me doing this sort of spaces is a challenge for me to just practice more talking, get more comfortable with just speaking with myself and with others. Because normally I would do this on my laptop. I would open up Audacity and then hook up everything for like my podcasting stuff and then just podcast away and edit as I go. But this is in real time where like I'm thinking a million things a second, talk out top of my head. I don't have a script. You get the authentic version of Marie Shadows when I cover professional wrestling, and I want to make sure that people understand and know how I podcast because I want to elevate wrestling. I want to elevate wrestlers, and if you ever want to, send me a DM and be like, "Hey, can I get feedback on something?" I will probably give you feedback because I love to give wrestlers feedback and try to help them out in this crazy world that we call professional wrestling. As always, tell a friend, share this with somebody, and uh, yeah, show us some love. Like, I don't really know. If you guys are not following me on my Twitter, just go do so. It's right here, Marie Shadows. Just hit that follow button for more wrestling, fun talk and stuff. If you're not following my wrestling newsletter over at Substack, marieshadows.substack.com, a lot more content is coming to the newsletter, so sign up for that. That wrestling newsletter is an extension of everything that I do. So if I don't get to talk about something on here with you, it's most likely going to be on the newsletter. And then also follow me on kick.com/Marie Shadows. I have a Discord, which I made a whole entire thread about like all of my stuff, including my new interview with Ray Jazz. If you have not seen the video, please go do. The audio will be up, a little bit later. I hope you enjoy this review of Best of the Super Juniors, and I hope to interact with you guys more on Twitter as well. So, you have been listening to an episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.